What's up? It's Justin Wagers. Welcome back to the park. At this point, you've conquered rig number 1. You can walk back and forth on the slack line. That's about knee height, maybe 20 to 30 feet long in the park. That's the beginner setup. Today, we're gonna move on to kind of the next level, rig number 2, which is obviously a little bit higher, a little bit longer. Today, we're looking at something around chest height and probably about 50 feet long. So you'll notice if you watched our 1-inch slackline kit rigging video, we're setting up the dynamic anchor slightly different today. That's because we're a little bit longer, a little bit higher, and we expect a little bit more tension on the slackline. And because of that, we don't want to tri-load a carabiner. We want to make sure everything's up to spec to be able to take a little bit more tension. So in this case, we have the red sling is just attached with a carabiner, and we have a rigging ring coming off the red sling. And that will just self-center, and we can clip our carabiner straight to that rigging ring. Otherwise, everything else about the rig is the same. You might need a friend or two to help you tension at this length and height. So the biggest thing about moving up to a slightly higher line is knowing just how to navigate this line, how to stand up on it, and most importantly, how to fall off of it safely. You're gonna get a little bit of sewing machine leg action at the beginning. It's normal, it's just because your weight isn't fully shifted onto the line yet. So as soon as you commit, push down fully on that foot on the line, that wobble's gonna go away. On a shorter line, I could kind of push off of it and run to the side when I'm dismounting. On a higher line, if I push off of it, the line can actually kind of catapult you and throw you in weird ways, and we really don't want anyone hitting the ground hard. So instead, we're gonna let the line just slip out from under our foot really nicely, and you'll fall straight to the ground. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna step onto this line, and if I fall off, again, I'm not gonna push off the line at all. I'll just let it kind of slide off. And now I'll show you the same thing falling off the other way. So I'm gonna step on. Again, if I've fallen off this way, really easy to just let my foot slide right off. And your first exercise is just going to be step on with one foot, hold it for a second, and slide off safely to dismount. Once you can do that comfortably 5 times in a row on each foot, safe falls, smooth stand-ups, you're ready to move on to the next thing. Once you're comfortable standing and falling off of this line, you're gonna go back to all the drills we did on rig number 1 and take them to this line. So you'll remember we did step-ons, back step-overs, front step-overs, we did walking forwards, walking backwards, and then we experimented with switching it up, so looking around, changing where your eye position is, putting your arms down, taking that variable out of it, and then we also did some exposure, so standing sideways. So if you do play with exposure on this longer line, I would just recommend being really careful about slipping off the line, not letting it push you as you fall, especially on the way back. So the line can basically kick you onto your back if you're not careful. So if you do play with exposure, just make sure you're leaning forward nice and strong, and then try to bias falling forwards instead of falling backwards. And then with those step-ons and step-overs, just make sure your foot is slipping off the line, not pushing off the line. So you shouldn't be pushing or flying when you fall off the line. You should just be letting that line slip out from under your foot. Take your time getting used to this rig. It might take you a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of practicing for a half hour a day to get used to everything we did on rig number 1. And don't be afraid to go back and watch those videos to reference everything we learned skill by skill. So at this point, I'm going to assume that you know how to walk comfortably on rig number 2. You've gone through all the exercises from rig number 1, done them on rig number 2, and you're pretty good at taking consistent steps. Now, especially if you start walking that line consistently every time, once you hit the tree, you're gonna wanna know how to turn around. So right now we're gonna teach you how to turn around on a slack line. And there are 2 different ways to turn around. One involves taking a step and then pivoting really quickly. And then the other involves kind of turning into exposure and then turning the other way really slowly. So I'll show you both those techniques and you can figure out what works best for you. So the first way to turn around on a slackline is you're gonna wanna put your dominant foot in front. So whichever foot you're most comfortable standing on, put that one in front. And then you're gonna take a step with the other foot and place your foot, instead of perfectly straight, somewhat crooked on the line, and then you're gonna pivot really quickly. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So I'm gonna take a step, somewhat crooked, and then pivot on the balls of my feet. You're gonna wanna make sure your eyes shift from looking at one anchor to the other when you make that turn. So I'll show you that. I'm gonna take that step and move my eyes to the other anchor. And once I have my eyes locked, that's a nice comfortable position that we're used to. So the other way, you're gonna start with the same stance, dominant foot forwards, and instead of pivoting really quickly, you're gonna slowly turn to exposure, and then you'll slowly turn to facing the other way. So once you get good at turning around on a slackline, you can basically walk back and forth infinitely. So have fun with it. So once you're comfortable walking this line, maybe walking, turning around, and walking it back, it's time to start experimenting with bouncing. So the first time you play with bouncing on a slackline, you're just gonna stand on both feet, and just bounce really lightly. So I'll show you how it's done. I'll put both feet on and just play with a little bit of vertical movement. And then if I wanna stop, I can just absorb it with my knees. Once you're a little bit more comfortable, you can actually start adding steps to the bouncing. So I'll get this bounce going, and at the top of the bounce, when less of my weight is on the line, I'm gonna take a step. So at the top, step, top, step, top, step. And then find that rhythm. Overall, bouncing is a really fun way to get playful with slacklining, and it's obviously the first step into eventually freestyle highlining. The next step in any slackliner's journey is to learn to stand up from sitting on a slackline. If you can stand up without touching the ground on a slackline, it opens the door into all sorts of things. Long lining, high lining, water lining, all of these where you can't push off the ground to stand up. Now there are 3 different types of sit mounts, and so I'll walk through each of those, but they are the Chongo Mount, the sit start, and the drop knee start. So let's check them out. So the Chongo is kind of a classic slackline mount that involves perching up on one foot, counterbalancing with an arm, and then slowly standing up. The advantages of Chongo are that it's pretty slow and controlled, so you can really take it one piece at a time. But the disadvantages are really that it puts a lot of pressure on your knee, especially if you're hesitating and spending a lot of time in that position. It can put a lot of stress on your meniscus and lateral knee. So just be careful of that when you're learning the Chongo Mount. So to start any slackline mount, generally you want to start in this kind of split position, and you'll notice the line's not riding up my butt crack, it's actually sitting on one cheek. So this is the case, I'm on my right butt cheek. And if you're left foot dominant, which I am on the slackline, I prefer to stand on my left foot, that slackline is gonna wanna be on that opposite butt cheek. So if I'm left foot dominant, it's on my right butt cheek. I'm gonna take both hands, put them in front of me, and lean forward, and the right foot, so the opposite of my slackline dominant foot, is gonna go in the back. I'm gonna press up and put that right foot behind me, and then roll onto it and perch up onto my right foot. And you notice, obviously in the park, I am touching the ground a little bit, and that's okay to learn the Chongo. So I'm perched up on my right foot, and what I want to do is take my opposite hand, so in this case my left hand, I'm going to place that on the line, and I'm going to take my right hand, the same hand that's according to the foot that's perched on. So if my right foot's perched, I'll take my right hand out, and this right hand and left foot kind of create this counterbalance that keep me centered on the slackline. This is the essence of the Chongo Mount. So I'm perched on that foot, I keep my left hand on the slackline, my right hand balance, and I'm gonna slowly bring my other foot up, release my hand, and stand up. So let's walk through the basics again. I'm gonna sit, for me, on my right butt cheek. Take both my hands, place them on the line. Take my right foot, put it up on the line. Shift back, so I'm perched on that right foot. Also important to bring your left hand in close. The closer it is, the easier it's gonna be to put that other foot on in front of it. Now I'll take my right hand out, get nice and balanced, pick up my left foot, take my hand off, and stand up. So with every slackline mount, but especially with the Chongo, it's important to take it quite slowly, and then also remember that you're still slacklining. You know, maintain your shoulder posture, keep your arms up, keep your eyes at the anchor, and those are the basics that will help you through the mount. So the next slackline mount we're gonna talk about is the sit start, which involves sitting on the line, putting both feet on, and then shifting up onto your feet. The advantages of the sit start, it's a really smooth movement. You start with both your feet on, so it's a pretty easy transition to standing. Disadvantages, it does require a little bit of hip mobility. So if you're a little stiffer, the sit start might be a little bit more challenging for you. So for the sit start, it's the same as the Chongo. If I'm left foot forward, I'm gonna sit on my right butt cheek. And this time, instead of putting my foot behind me, I'm gonna put it in front of me. So I'm gonna take one hand, put that right foot in front of me. And it can be perfectly straight. For me, I like to put it a little bit sideways. So my right toe is facing out. And then I'm also gonna place my left foot on the line. And this might be challenging at first. It is kind of strange to find the balance when you're sitting. So at first you can just practice sitting here with your left leg dangling and balancing. But when you're ready, when you feel comfortable, put that left leg on. You're gonna shift all your weight forward and stand up in one fluid movement. You'll notice where I am on the line is close to the anchor and more on the downhill facing side. Especially for the sit start, it requires a little bit of momentum. So the more you are facing downhill, the more the line will help push you up. So I'll pivot onto that right butt cheek, and then I'll take my left hand, put my right foot in front of me, slide nice and close. So the closer your butt is to your foot, the easier it's gonna be. For me, my right foot is facing out a little bit. Then I'll go ahead and place that left foot on the line, and then I'll shift my weight forward in one nice and smooth movement and stand right up. If you struggle with hip mobility, but you still want to sit start, there's a trick. All you have to do, put both feet on, and instead of just standing up, you're gonna use a little hand assistance here. So let's say your hips are really tight, you can't get them more out than this. All you have to do is reach forward in between your feet and help pull yourself up. So I'll show you how. Reach forward, pull the line, and stand right up. The next mount I'm gonna walk you through is the drop knee mount. This is a little less common, especially in modern day highlining, but it can be useful to know. The advantages of the drop knee mount are that it keeps you pretty square in line with the anchor. I would say the biggest disadvantage is that it's a little bit more complicated and all your weight at one point has to be shifted onto one foot. So the drop knee mount starts actually really similarly to the Chongo mount. I'm sitting on my right butt cheek. I'm gonna put both hands in front of me, pivot my weight forward, and instead of putting my foot on, I'm actually gonna put the ankle of my right foot on the line. So I'll pivot forward, put that ankle on, and sit back on the ankle. This can be uncomfortable at first. You do kind of develop a resistance to the ankle pain over time. And then to do the actual mount itself, same thing as the Chongo. You're gonna have one arm out, one foot out, and then you're gonna replace your hand with your foot, just like that. And this obviously is called the drop knee position. You can practice just sitting in drop knee on a shorter line before you do the mount. And then to stand up, I'm gonna shift all the weight onto my front foot. So it does take some quad strength. And I'll stand up like that. All right, let's walk through that drop knee mount one more time. I'm gonna get on the line, got my right butt cheek on, put both hands in front of me, pivot back onto that ankle, take one hand off, put that front foot on, get nice and comfy and drop knee, and then shift all my weight forward as I stand up. So we've walked through all 3 mounts, the Chongo, the sit start, and the drop knee. I would really recommend trying all 3 of these, but I will say that the least common is probably the drop knee start, and the most common, especially among highliners, is the sit start. It's probably the most stable. You have both feet on the line, and it's the most comfortable to do without putting too much pressure on your knee. But give them all a try, see what works for you, and once you pick something that works, stick with it and master it. Congratulations, you made it through the Beginner Slackline course. Hopefully by this point, you've had some fun, learned some new skills, and taken your first steps on a slackline. If you're looking for more and you're ready for your first highline steps, go check out our highline prep course. And as always, check us out on YouTube at the Trickline Collective channel. Thanks. If you liked it, please recommend this course to a friend. It really helps us out. And don't forget to keep having fun, stay creative with it.